So, as I've been talking for the last week, I realized that I was getting about a 10, maybe 15% success rate on my goals for the last 20 years. And I've been writing goals since I was 19. I'm now 44. So I've been doing this for a long time. And so I've been trying to search for what made it work when it did, and what made it, what was in the way of it actually working when I didn't achieve my goals. And I was thinking back, and I think it actually comes to two things. I've been talking about the one main thing is being able to create the habits that will actually make the goal actually work. Right? So that's one thing. I did realize that any of the times I achieved big goals, like epic goals I was going after, I did have a big thing I did, like a big jump forward. But the only thing that actually made it keep going from there is the habits that I put in place. Now, it's really weird. I was thinking about it this morning, and The Power of Habit is a great book on that topic. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Boom! Right here. Yeah, that's an awesome one. You don't look 44. How old is Jason? Let's see. My business partner on Internet Business Mastery podcast. Let's see. He's 39. He's 5 years younger than me. Yeah, I've got an 18-year-old, and I didn't even start having kids till I was 27. So, anyway, some of the big things that I did, for instance, right when I started college, as a bet in my first week of class, I bet two people that I couldn't go up to Hollywood. Like, I wanted to be in Hollywood. Love that book, but still struggle with the habits. Yeah, I'm completely with you on that. This was an amazing basic structure of what to do, and now I'm trying to fill in a bunch of the blanks, like the whole tiny or mini habit idea, as well as willpower, grit, all that stuff. Hey, Hutch, what's up? So anyway, in college, I made a bet with a couple of people because the professor was so irritating to me, saying, none of you are actually going to end up in the movie profession, even though we were all there to go to film school and stuff. I made a bet with a couple people that I couldn't just go up to Hollywood and get a job right when I wanted to. So I went up on a weekend, stayed the night in a park across the street from Universal Studios, and snuck on, talked to people, and got a job, and left college. So that was a huge step. Like, I did that teacher, well, he was saying, that teacher said, there was, I think, 97, let's say, people in this huge, like, auditorium that wanted to be in film. It was down in San Diego. And he said, statistically, 3 people in this class will ever work in the film industry, even though all of you are trying to get your film degrees. And like, that just shocked me. I'm like, why am I going to pay for college if, I'm like, well, clearly I'm going to be one of the 3. That was my first thought, just because, at 19 or whatever, you're just like, the world is mine, right? But I went, why wait 4 years? Why wait till I have $150,000 worth of debt? And so I made that bet, went up there and got a job and quit school. I came down that Monday and went in and checked out of all my classes and moved up to Hollywood. But so that was a big thing. But the thing that made it so that I actually was able to get stuff done was just the little things I did every day. Now, another story behind that. So again, the two things is like this big epic move, this big epic jump forward towards a big goal, and then just the habits that I did every day. So this is what happened on the things that worked for me. So the other one was, now fast forward from that time of college, I guess about 12 years, when I finally read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and I realized I didn't want, I went kind of the wrong direction in Hollywood. I ended up being an editor. I worked in a little cubicle at Warner Brothers. Number 1, big epic choice. Number 2, small daily choices. Yeah, absolutely, that's great. So then I decided that I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book and went, oh my gosh, I need to be over on what he calls the quadrant of the business owner and the investor. Like, I want to move over so that I can do an action once and I get paid for it, possibly even indefinitely, but at least multiple times. Whereas at a job, I was just I got paid for whatever actions I did that day, and then I had to come back the next day to get paid again. And I loved that idea of not having to do that anymore. So I took a massive action and I actually quit my job and decided I was going to go. I quit Warner Brothers after my entire career of trying to get to the point where there's nothing really higher than Warner Brothers or Universal or whatever in the realm of filmmaking and editing. At the time, that was the case. And I quit and decided to try and go start learning about this business. But the only thing that made the business work was the fact that every single day I got up, and the first maybe year and a half or 2 years, I did 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And the breaks that I took were, because I had 2 young daughters at the time, now one's 16 and one's 18, but I had little kids, so, and this was 10 years ago that this happened, but I did stuff every single day. It became a habit, and I was going to, I want to define the whole habit thing again. Let me open this up here, just to make sure everybody understands. So by the way, I'm starting a community around this whole idea of epic life. If you go to Facebook and type in Epic Life Quest, I haven't fully filled it out yet, but that's where I'm going to be discussing and really diving deep in this. But here's a couple of, again, thanks so much for the hearts. Here's a couple of definitions of habit. A routine of behaviors that is repeated regularly and tends to occur unconsciously. So the entire goal is to get to the point where you don't have to think about it anymore, right? Like, that's the basis of a habit. It's a behavior that you unconsciously continue to do. And that's what it became. Business to me became like the big top thing that I did every single day, along with things like, you know, be with my kids and just daily stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, some of the goals that I didn't get was I was spending so much time, I didn't integrate my life, I segregated it. Like, I just did business and some family stuff, gained weight, now I'm dealing with the weight stuff. Success is a habit, absolutely. Now, it's funny because my entire goal when I started my business, my online business, was basically just to make enough money to make it so I didn't have to go back to work. That was one of my requested entry. Awesome. I'll go see that in just a bit and let you in. Thanks for coming in. But anyway, so let's see, where was I? Just the idea of, I had just the goal of being able to make enough money to stay at home. And at the time, again, this is 10, 11 years ago, I got all my expenses down to $2,500. So $2,500 would cover my mortgage and the absolute basics. And it's so funny because, you know, that was the goal. And so everything I was doing was, I was trying to work extra hard just so that I could do that. So I could take care of my kids, take care of my family. At the time I was still married. And that's what my goal was. And so the habits were, you know, all day, every day, all I was thinking about is, what can I do to serve a group of people that are willing to give me value back? Now, you know, that ended up, obviously, because my goal was more serving, who doesn't have the goal of making $1 million, right? Like, that was obviously a very side goal. But because I was so into the habit of working, Jason and I passed that $1 million goal and didn't even realize it. You know, first of all, it was our goal of, you know, the business making $1 million. And then it's like, well, what do we got to do to each personally make $1 million? This kind of thing. And you know, and we whipped past those goals because they were just side goals, but my habits made those things happen without them even being goals, because my habits were in place, right? The continuously wanting to serve an audience was like a main goal, because in a mastermind with Jason, he's great. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Yeah, so you know, because the habits were in place, I was able to do that and get way past that without even realizing it. So now every bit of my focus is on, like, being able to really, I started realizing it's not the goal setting that is like a superpower. It's the being able to consistently take the actions and to the point where they become an unconscious habit. Habits make the goals happen. Yeah, because again, I have a book. I'll show it to you right here. This is my me book, and this is things that I've typed out, books that I've made notes on, and even I even have like all of my strengths, all that kind of stuff from all the different strength finders and all that stuff. And so I have habits going back like 20 years in this book. I kept it. I have a great habit building my biz. Then willpower muscle is tired for personal. Yeah, well, and it's interesting. It's funny you mentioned that. Boom! Willpower. This book. That's my recommendation. Read this because they talked about how in this book they talked about how willpower is like, let's say, a cell phone battery. You know what I mean? In the morning it's charged, and as you go through the day, that willpower just keeps getting less and less and less. And so it talked about, I don't know, 5 or 6 ways to recharge that willpower. Haven't heard of that one. Thanks. Oh yeah, I'm so horrible with the names. Roy Baumeister and John Tierney. That's about as close as it's going to get. But here, I'll put it up on the screen for a sec. Can you see? There you go. So in the replay too, you'll be able to see this. And I'm actually putting up a book list right now so that people can see. Yeah, screenshot. You want to do it again? Here's your screenshot. There we go. Screenshot time. Thanks for all the hearts too. The book of Jeremy Franson. Yeah, the books. I'll have that up soon. I'm building all this stuff, and it's funny because in Internet Business Mastery we talk about progress, not perfection. And I almost didn't start doing this 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago tomorrow is when I started scoping, and I almost didn't do it with the same stupid perfection stuff going. I want everything done, everything ready before I do it, but I decided just to do it anyway, and it's working out great. I mean, I love the fact that people are in here wanting to talk on a Saturday morning about this. But anyway, so just to finish up on the willpower thing, there's like, let's say 6 things to help you boost that willpower, and I've worked one of them into my habit that I'm trying to do for health, and that's actually glucose. So 2 things that I do is if I feel like eating something crazy when I'm not even hungry, like get nachos or get something that I know isn't going to work well for me. Instead, I cut up an apple, or I have this what's it called, jerky. This really soft jerky that's made locally that's really, really good. And I'll have just a little bit of that, just enough to take off that edge and get my willpower back up. As well as there's like meditation, making sure you have the right amount of sleep. And I'm really specific about my sleep too, which is I have to do at least 7.5 hours. So if I wake up at 6, I try and go back to sleep. Apples are boring. Not with almond butter, maple almond butter. That's how you make apples even better. But yeah, the goal is just to have that, whatever that action is of eating helps a lot, right? So anyway, back to the habit stuff. Yeah, I think that this is absolutely the key. After reading, this was actually my 15th book on habits. And I just went through the Tiny Habits course, the little 5-day course, and the Tiny Habits is definitely a key to this building and creating habits thing. So if you want to go to tinyhabits.com/join, you can do their little 5-day thing. Hey Dan, what's up? You're up. Welcome. But anyway, I just wanted to do kind of a quick little brain dump of where I'm at with this. And I'm actually even going to try and take that Tiny Habits course. They have a full course like that you actually pay for, a bunch of little courses. You can actually become like a certified teacher in Tiny Habits too. And again, the guy who does that is BJ Fogg, who's a Stanford professor, him and his wife. Yep, tinyhabits.com/join. But anyway, so I was going to give you one thing that I'm going to go do right after this. First thing is, if you want to join my community that I'm still just getting up and started. Oh, I'm going to totally get certified, by the way. I sent them an email. It's so funny. I'll tell you. Let's see. I signed up and missed the Sunday deadline. Right. the BJ Fogg, like clearly they don't do this online business stuff like we do, because it's so hard to like buy stuff from them. They don't just have courses like you have to, just email us and we'll maybe put you in the next one or something like that. Wow, tough. Whereas I go to Udemy and I looked up habits just to see what's going on in Udemy, because I'm really considering making everything I find into a master course once I'm done and once I get it to work consistently. And yep, there's some stuff on Udemy, and one guy's selling a course about mini habits. He's got a mini habit book, which I'm reading today, and his course is, let's just say, $149, and he has like 7,500 customers, which is absolutely insane to me about habits, because at Internet Business Mastery, over the last we've been actually doing business for 8 years, and we had our podcast for 10, then put it on sale for $10. All right. We have about just over 5,400 customers who've gone through our academy, and this guy has a little mini habit course because of Udemy that has 7,200 students. Now, granted, a whole bunch of those people probably got it incredibly discounted, because I know I've done 2 Udemy courses just to try out Udemy, and I think I found like a 97% off. So whatever courses I bought ended up with like $3 or something like that. But I've been even considering that. But I was looking at that, and that's a course I might end up taking as well. But here's what I'm going to do next. Yeah, they always run sales, and that's a tough thing on a business side. If your stuff's constantly discounted, that's not awesome. But I'll tell you, at 7,200 customers, even if they're paying 50%, or you're getting $10-20, that's a nice little side income. I mean, for people who are starting, for sure. But anyway, so I was going to give you a little take action. That was kind of my rant, the superpower thing. As a side note on the superpower thing too, I just was looking at like the top 20 movies from this summer, and of course a handful of them are superhero movies. And I've definitely, since obviously Hollywood, I've been incredibly interested in mythology, and it's called the hero's journey, the exact way that heroes are designed in storytelling and myths and this kind of stuff. And it's actually fascinating to me how interested people are in superheroes. So it's not the superhero movies that interest me particularly, it's how fascinated other people are in it. And so the idea of having a superpower, of course, who wouldn't want that? Almost all the guys that I know, read comic books when they were growing up. And again, just the idea of having a superpower, that was interesting. I never read the comic books, but I've always been kind of behind the scenes looking for, can we have superpowers, or what are ours without the magic and the fake stuff, right? And to me, it seems like obviously being able to achieve the goals, like set goals, and then actually be able to achieve them, that seems like the closest thing we're going to get to a superpower. But it's funny how I realized that I've been seeing all this goal stuff. I talk about jamesclear.com all the time. He talks a lot about goals. We had him on our show. Again, I think it was episode 195. I'll get that in a second. And he talked about some great habit stuff. But in my mind, habit building seemed mundane and average or something. And I didn't realize until just recently that it's actually the superpower, the actual power behind goal setting. So that's why I'm digging deep. That's why I've been kind of ranting about this for a week or so, is because of that. So anyway, I just thought I would tell you that. Then I'm going to go watch. I'm going to go watch a TED Talk. I haven't watched it yet. Now it's from the Stanford professor I've talked about, who does the tinyhabits.com. So I thought I would invite you guys to watch that with me. I set it up so that you guys can see it. That's literally what I'm going to do when I get off here. So there's a little take action. If you want to give me a little heart attack, a little tap the screen. By the way, it's funny because I can see who gives hearts or who doesn't. And there's a lot of people who just give one. And it made me wonder, like a lot, if people just think you can only do one. You can't. You can do 500 each time you come in. That episode came out. I missed it. Okay, so yes, it is internetbusinessmastery.com/195. And you can hear a really, really interesting interview with James Clear. And he talks about identity habits. building a new identity, and that kind of goes along with the superpower stuff, right? Building a new identity and then being that new identity, the identity of somebody who already takes the action that you want to take. So there you go. Check out that episode. I'm going to go watch this right now. Thanks for hanging out with me early on a Saturday.